released in North America in January of 2001. I first learned about the game when I was a teenager, scouring the internet for details about this new game called Halo. You see, Bungie, the creators of Halo, were members of this website, God Games. While I can't find much information about God Games anymore, their name came from gathering of developers. It seems to have served as a publishing house for well-known franchises like Duke Nukem and a launching platform for newcomers like Serious Sam. It allowed companies to reach larger audiences and seemed to me, a teenaged outsider, that it was a website where small game development studios could contact each other for help or advice. A small community for upstarts wasn't uncommon on the internet, but it was through that website that I first learned of titles like Halo, Oni, and even Rockstar Games' Max Payne. In Halo's early days, it only had a few screenshots out there, but it looked awesome. But as information began to suggest that it was going to appear only on Microsoft's new console, the Xbox, my hope faded. Because I was leaving consoles behind and dedicating myself as a PC gamer at that time. Luckily for me, the God Games website let me know of a demo for this new game from the makers of Halo, a new title called Oni. Oni had a look that was obviously heavily inspired by anime and had no desire to hide that fact, with concept art obviously heavily influenced by Ghost in the Shell. The game's demo and the final retail version of the game included a great-looking anime intro, which added hours to my download of the demo back on dial-up. But it was all worth it. Oni looked beautiful. So after I played the demo, I bought the game, and I loved it when I was younger. It featured interesting weapons, fantastic sound effects, and graphics that made you feel like you were part of the anime-inspired world the game took place in. But most important were the fighting mechanics. The game allows you to holster or drop your weapon and engage in seamless hand-to-hand combat. Punches and kicks, takedowns and throws, and even the ability to back kick and attack enemies from multiple angles. The PS2 adaptation of the game was released by Rockstar Games. Looks like the gathering of developers' connections paid off in the end. Oni's game took full advantage of the 3D acceleration hardware at the time, allowing fairly high resolutions, beautiful lighting and particle effects, and even implemented keyframe animations, which allowed for smoothing of the action in between frames to ensure that the hand-to-hand combat mechanics flowed smoothly. At the time Oni released, I had just built a custom PC with a powerful graphics card which featured hardware anti-aliasing, which means it got rid of the jagged little lines and edges. But here I am, more than 10 years later, and trying to capture the PS2 version of this game. The console adaptation doesn't look quite as good. But I'm sure the PC version would probably be a bit tarnished if I got my hands on that again as well. Things never quite hold up to your childhood memories, do they? And that seems to be the case for Oni. The game's mechanics and controls, particularly here on the PS2, are a mess. I switched to one of the different control schemes just because it felt slightly more natural to me, but even then it can be hard for you, and evidently your enemies, to make contact when you want to, and you'll find yourself swinging wildly at nothing quite often. There are some dodge mechanics, but you forget to use them for even a second and you'll pay, as enemies often carry fully automatic weapons which, even with the game set on easy, will drain your health in no time. But what makes you want to take all that punishment and suffer through loading screens and continue playing Oni? It's the engaging story. If we turn to the PS2 manual of Oni, we find several pages of detailed backstory. There are details of a new World Coalition government, details of the TCTF, or Technology Crimes Task Force, which the main character Konoko is a part of. It introduces simulated life dolls, the dystopian polluted world and widespread death outside of major cities, the fact that the new government was formed on January 12th, 2032, annexing 80% of the country's... Oh my god, I don't care! The manual simply describes you, the player, and some of the characters. It describes the settings. It alludes to a deeper connection between you and your simulated life doll Shinatama, and it talks about how you are a new agent to the TCTF and how you're about to go on your first mission. Apart from the overly detailed backdrop it gives you, the manual really doesn't give you much about the game's story itself. It does a great job setting the stage for what's about to happen, but the story itself is actually told in-game. Sprinkled throughout the levels, you'll find datapads and terminals. Bungie loves telling long, complex stories through the use of sprawling text found in terminals. They did it in Marathon and continue the tradition in the Halo games, particularly upping their terminal game in Halo 3 ODST. They can't seem to get enough of terminals and deeper stories, but the story on the surface of Oni, it gets a little convoluted. I don't want to drag everyone too far into spoiler territory. Suffice it to say that in the first few levels, you're introduced via cutscenes to characters who are obviously the bad guys. But who are they? They're only bad because they're juxtaposed against your supporting cast of good guys. That and their questionable criminal activity and the fact that the building you're infiltrating is being protected by a security system controlled by a human brain, more on that, can of course be found in the terminals. But the good guys don't seem to be up to much good either. It quickly becomes evident, at least to the omniscient player, that there's more to Konoko than just being a badass ninja chick on her first mission. But to what degree? To what end? In order to find out, she's going to have to go to great lengths, and it may even call into question her relationship with her mentor, boss, and father figure, Commander Griffin. But you'll have to play the game to find out more for yourself. I can't tell you the whole story. I can only tell you our story so far. Hey guys, thanks for watching episode 4 of Our Story So Far. Check us out over at ourstorysofar.tv, and just wait a couple weeks, you'll have your next episode, and hopefully we'll keep this schedule up. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, @NewAngel, that's NUANGEL. If you have a favorite character or franchise and want to know more about their introduction to the gaming universe, leave a comment and let me know. We'll see you next time on Our Story So Far.